Welcome friends, I don't want to say that I predicted this rise, but 13 days ago this video came out where the title already says only 13 days left. Let's take a look now. Sure, Bitcoin hasn't completely skyrocketed, but we can clearly see the market is rising again. We see positive days. I've drawn it here for you, marked it here for you. Around the 24th, 25th March, we should rise, and it happened exactly on the 24th of March. From then on, we have risen reasonably with Bitcoin again. And I can also show you again why this whole thing happened. Because of the M2 money supply. That's the money supply. And I shifted the M2 money supply by 10 weeks. That means by 70 days. And when you overlay them, the correlation is almost identical. And that's why we see here that we have been slowly rising again since then. The M2 money supply has increased to the maximum recently. Now we are slowly feeling it with Bitcoin. Because there is always a delay from the M2 money supply to Bitcoin. And this delay is slowly coming into effect. We are slowly feeling it in the markets, and that is extremely important. Because only this fresh capital can help us further in this market. And you have to imagine, we are at a new all-time high with the M2 money supply. We are also at an all-time high with stablecoins. We have more money in stablecoins than ever before in the past. And that's it now. If we slowly get a bit of clarity in the economy through the Trump administration, if we slowly see that these tariffs and such are calming down, that Trump is not waging further wars against other states and such. When this slowly calms down, then a lot of money will flow from the stablecoins into the rest of the cryptos. And at the same time, we see that the M2 money supply is rising, so we will also receive much more liquidity in this regard. That is extremely positive. And here one must say the M2 money supply is indeed important, and it's good that it is at an all-time high. But even more important is the US M2 money supply, because currently this is the global M2 money supply. While it is also important for Bitcoin, the US M2 money supply is even more crucial. It's just like always, everything is focused on the USA. And here we see money has been made difficult in recent months. And that's also the reason why the altcoins couldn't really perform well, because money was simply being continuously drained from the markets. However, we have now received the announcement that we will see a loose monetary policy this year. This means that the M2 money supply in the USA will also turn around. And that's why this is extremely positive right now. And that's exactly what I've been saying for the past few weeks. I don't understand how one cannot be optimistic at the moment. All macro data is currently turning for the better. And above all, these are macro data that are extremely significant. I mean, the most important thing for the crypto market and for stocks is the expansion of money. It doesn't matter whether it's Trump or Harris or whoever is president, everything ultimately depends on this expansion of money. And the interesting thing right now is that this Bitcoin rise wasn't caused by leverage, as it usually is in the past. But this rise, now, it was really only due to spot purchases. Spot buyers have caused Bitcoin to rise by nearly $4,000. And that is actually quite unusual. But this casts a very positive light on Bitcoin and the crypto market for me at the moment, because we still have huge players who are buying multi-million-dollar Bitcoin spots to push the price. It's crazy that the price is being pushed up by $4,000 per Bitcoin. Only with spot purchases, as I said, this is not usually the case. However, this is very positive and shows once again that the big players are buying while the masses are in panic. Let's take a look at people who hold less than one Bitcoin, that is, the small Bitcoin investors. They have been selling recently, they were in panic, but if we look at people who have over 100 Bitcoins, they have been accumulating recently and accumulating diligently. And there is this big difference. We still see that the big whales are buying massively while the masses are in panic. In the end, however, it is still very positive, because you know exactly, first we need the big players, the large investors, to invest here, and then the money can be gradually redistributed. And one must also understand that this entire rise last year was mainly caused by people like Michael Saylor. He really bought Bitcoin for multi-billion dollars, and that's why we are doing so well with Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, we are still doing extremely poorly, and that is simply because we continue to have such a tight monetary policy. But as I said, these are things that change slowly. Money is on the sidelines, just waiting to be deployed. Only two things need to happen. First, the loose monetary policy in the USA. And they have already announced that this will happen this year, and all these sanctions from Trump need to stop. And then the whole situation here can escalate completely again. I'm telling you, but I still think the next few weeks could be good for the crypto market and for Bitcoin. We've also seen here that Ethereum has partially outperformed Bitcoin, which is also interesting. Because, I mean, this was the worst Q1 for Ethereum. That's why I think Q2 should slowly be better now. Historically, that's usually the case. This chart illustrates that once again, and this here is also the median Bitcoin price. Here we can see we are in the lower 25% range, and there is now a 75% probability that April will perform really well again. In the past, it has also been the case that the biggest increase was seen in Bitcoin or the crypto market. Here in April, May, and again at the end of the year, October, November. In the past, it was like that, and that's why I think it can be the same this time. I think the next few months will be quite good because the macro data was correct, and of course, some things in the real world are happening that are quite good for this. I showed you this a few weeks ago as well. Take a look at it. It is still my assumption that we will rise again here in April and then towards the end of May, June, July. We will fall again over the summer months, and then at the end of the year, it will really pick up again. And I believe it's quite realistic that we will have another stagnation phase here, and then at the end of the year, we will escalate really aggressively again. That's my assumption, but I already showed you this weeks ago. And it looks like we are slowly really approaching this course here, and it would slowly start to make sense. Very, very interesting how sentiment changes from one day to the next. Even though, for example, I told you this 13 days ago, I already pointed it out to you 13 days ago, that this would happen. Some people should just watch my videos more often. And at this point, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. Very, very important. This here is also an extremely important chart. In green, we see the course trend of 2018, 2019, when Trump was also president, when he also imposed tariffs. And here in red, we see the current course trend since Trump is president. And that's just the cool thing. Please take a look at this. We simply see that back in 2018, when Trump started with the tariffs, we initially corrected strongly until we eventually reached this turning point. And once we reached it, we only continued to rise, despite the tariffs, and eventually some of the tariffs were, of course, lifted. And it's just happening again here. Completely identical, so it should be clear to everyone what Trump is doing here. He did the same thing back then, and even after that, all the markets escalated further. Trump wanted to create fear in recent months so that he would have a better negotiating position here. One simply has to understand why the guy is doing this. And here it is important that we look at the past and see how it was back then. And that's why one shouldn't worry in this regard. The tide is slowly turning for the better. Above all, it fits perfectly in terms of time and data. Because we also saw a nice formation from March to April back then, we are now seeing ETF inflows again after almost a month of only outflows from the ETFs. This, of course, pushed the prices down again, but currently we are seeing nice inflows again, which is very, very important. There was also news yesterday. The crypto market is now officially partnered with Trump Media in relation to ETFs. This is also very interesting and naturally casts a good light on these projects, and especially, of course, on Crow. But even better is that we are becoming more flexible with the ETFs, allowing us to see more ETFs. And I can also imagine that we might slowly start seeing altcoin ETFs in the near future. There's not much more to say. You know what to do. Leave a like and a comment on the video. And then I would say, see you next time, friends. Bye.